Anthony Smith, thank you so much for taking time. I know you're super busy at the moment. How are you? How have the last couple of weeks been for you?
I've been really good. I've been really good. In between my last fight and taking this one, I think I guess I posted this on my Instagram recently, but I spent a lot of time in a lot of really beautiful places and just kind of off in my own little world, riding my razor and just just kind of getting in my own head, I guess, and I asked myself a lot of hard questions, and Mark Montoya has done a really good job of. He's not just a coach, he's like my guide, I suppose, like through this journey. So this whole training camp has been a lot of fun, actually, and it's been I don't know, I feel young again. I know that sounds crazy, but like you normally I dread the start of training camp. I don't want to leave. I hate traveling all the time, and it's just it's just that normal grind, but it just feels different this time. So I've been really good. I've been in a good mood. I'm excited when I get up in the morning to go to the gym. It's just I don't know. Your mind's a crazy thing. You get in the right mindset and everything's different.
And why do you think, where do you think that shift came from? What can you put that down to?
There's a lot of things. I have a lot on my plate. I do a lot. I'm a desk analyst. I have a radio show on Sirius XM. I do a lot of like guest spots on podcasts. Me and Laura Sanko kind of launched our own, and that kind of fell by the wayside because it was like I just had so much going on, and I have three young kids. I'm married. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. Then not that a lot of people would probably think about this, but outside of that, I'm still a person too. So like I have friends and I have family, and it's just there's just a lot, and um I think it started though with the John Jones fight is when like my mindset started to change. I see guys like Brandon Royval and Yusuf Zalal and like all these young up and comers, and like I seen those guys in the gym, and I would watch them, and they're so clean and technical, and they're just everything they do is really pretty. And I think I spent a lot of time trying to be more like that. And I think I lost myself a little bit. And those were some of those hard questions I had to myself. Like, who am I really? Like deep down, like, do I have the skills and the abilities to fight like that? 100%. Um, but like, is that who I am? Like in here? Like, is that the fighter I actually am? And it's not. It's not. I'm the dude that marches people down, and I break them mentally and physically, and I just take people's will. That's just not like the way that they fight is not how I fight. And I think I just had to accept that that's just who I am. And instead of trying to change it, I need to embrace it and then grow on that and stop trying to be something else that I'm not. And I think I started to try that when I got the John Jones fight. Like I have to be better. I got to be more technical. I got to be cleaner. I got to put in these really perfect performances. And like my fights are ugly and they're exciting, and I'm bleeding and he's bleeding, and I'm just mean and nasty, and that's just who I am. And at 32 years old, you know, 14 years or so into my career, like I don't think right now is the time to change that. So, and I think I was fighting myself a little bit, and then I went into the Gus fight, and that fight was different because I just didn't give a shit. I didn't go into the Alexander Gustafsson fight looking to win. That wasn't I didn't travel to Sweden for a W. I went there to make myself feel better. And I know people thought I was crazy when I said that, but it was 100% the truth. And then the Glover fight, and then Rakic, and it was like something has to change, or I don't need to be doing this anymore. So, uh, and I think it's just a mindset thing. It's just a mindset thing, and my training partners see it, my coaches see it. I just feel better. I'm just in a better place.
Do you feel like you're having a little bit more fun with it now in terms of like maybe your preparation going into this one? How has it compared to the other camps and the other preparations that you've done it
It, it's
previously?
it's a lot less stressful. It's a lot less stressful, and I don't know why I do this. I just put so much pressure on myself sometimes that it's not fun anymore. And it's like I don't know. The culture in the gym, in our gym at Factory X, is so much fun that it's almost like you have to try to not have fun, and that's kind of what I was doing. And like like some people will say, like, if you're having too much fun, you're not working hard enough. And it's not really like that for us. Like like we have these fun competitions, and that's something that Mark changed too. Like, on Thursdays we do this thing where me and Cody and excuse me, the other guys that are my size, will do these competitions, and then like at the end of it, like one guy will owe the other guy lunch or whatever. So it's like it's fun competition, but we're going after each other. But I've just been having a lot of fun, and it's really hard to put my finger on like what actual change kind of changed the entire thing. I think it's a culmination of everything, but I wasn't having that much fun. I really wasn't, and I've done a couple of little things that I think have taken some of that pressure off, like, Misha Tate and RJ Clifford who are, RJ is my co-host on SiriusXM, and Misha also is a host on SiriusXM. They've done a really cool thing for me in allowing me to, like, if I'm really tired or I'm rushing or my schedule's not conforming to my radio schedule, like they kind of cover my ass, and I can just back out and, like, I can't do it today. Like I don't have it in me, or there's doctor's appointments, and there's different training sessions, and there's interviews, and there's UFC, obligations, and there's just so much stuff. And before I was trying to juggle it all at the same time, and it's, and then on top doing the podcast, and then traveling back and forth. I'd leave Thursday to come back Sunday, and then trying to train on the road to do the ESPN gig. So I, like, kind of backed out of the ESPN gigs a little bit, and, like, all right, when I'm in training camp, I'm just going to be in training camp. So I think I just took some stuff off my plate, and fortunately I have people around me that one, ESPN supports me, and they understand that, like, fighting comes first, and I have a really cool co-hosts that kind of took some of those pressures off of me. So I think it's just every little kind of drop in the hat has really helped a lot.
And I'm sure you mentioned that you were thinking about going back to middleweight, because obviously now you're booked for November 28th with Devin Clark. Where did you come to the decision that you wanted to stay at light heavyweight, and how did this fight get put together?
The I guess okay, I'm trying to think how to say this. One of the best things about me, and one of the worst things that are about me, is I'll just tell you what I'm thinking right then and there. Like, that was just when they asked the questions, like, what's going on in your head? Like, I'm just brutally honest, and that was what was in my head. Like, maybe like Glover was big, and John Jones was big, and Gustafsson is big, and Rakic is huge. And I just, like, I was able to handle Gus, and like, I don't feel like John Jones really overpowered me. He didn't manhandle me. He shot 10 times. I stuffed 8. Glover, I didn't feel like I had any issues. There was more of just a damage and kind of exhaustion thing. But Rakic was the first time in my whole life that I'd been manhandled, and, like, I couldn't do anything about it. And at the time, I felt like that was like a physicality thing. And so that's kind of when I was in my head, like maybe I need to go back to 85. But, immediately my coaches are like, come on, dude, like, you can't make 85 anymore. Like, I've been at 205 for a few years now. My body's adjusted to the weight class. I'm 32 years old, and I was cutting to 85 for over a decade, and my body's over it now. So that was over with pretty quick. So I had to make a decision. I either had to gain weight and get heavier and stronger at 205, or I had to go down to 85. The easier thing, and your quality of life matters too. So the thing that's going to make me the happiest is to get stronger. And I'm still going to have a weight cut. I'm still going to have to come back down to 205, but it's going to be easier than going to 85. So and I just wanted to have the right matchups. This whole game and I don't pick and choose. Whoever they offer, I fight. But that was kind of the one thing that I asked for from the UFC. Like, I mean, I'll keep fighting the top 5 guys if that's what you want. But, every once in a while, it'd be nice to have a matchup that favors me a little bit. That'd be cool.
So what do you think about this matchup then with Devin Clark? Because he is unranked. I think he's gone on a little win streak for the first time in, I think, 2017, which is, obviously quite a while now. So what are you thinking about this matchup?
Well, first of all, I like Devin. We kind of come from the same area. We grew up 2 hours from each other. So, like, I'd seen him on the regional scene, and I always thought someday, like, because he was at 85 for a while too. Like, I always thought someday we'd see each other at some point in time. But his dad's really cool. His dad's always in his corner. So like we fought on a lot of cards together, like I always give his dad shit. Like, remember that one time he drank all the bottles at my table that one time? Like he's a cool dude. I don't mind Devin at all. As far as his fight style, it's kind of tailor made for me. Kind of historically, if you look back in my career, I do pretty well against short, stocky, heavy-handed brawlers, or heavy-handed wrestlers rather. The Hector Lombard, Andrew Sanchez, the I've just done well against them. And I like the matchup. He's not he's not like a black belt jiu-jitsu type of guy. He's not chasing submissions. He's a grinder. He's going to be in your face. I don't feel like I'm going to have to chase him down. He's going to bring the fight to me. And I know what to expect. He's predictable. He's going to wrestle. He's going to throw hard overhand punches to get into the level change. So it's really less about what he does. It's the predictability about it. Like there's no secrets with him. And again, on the other side of it, I don't think there's a lot of secrets to me either. I'm going to stuff the takedown and throw bombs and, but it really comes down just to the mindset, like I think in the Rakic fight, I conceded a lot of things, like, oh, okay, I'm on my back, I'll figure it out. I'm gonna chase the submission. And then by the time I was ready to get up, it was too late. It was already, kind of solidified in that position. So, it just comes down to not conceding and not giving him an inch, not letting him have a takedown. And if he gets it, I got to get to my feet as fast as possible, no matter what. So, it's a fun matchup, and it's fun to train for a fight like that because you know what to expect, you know what's coming, and I know exactly what I need to do to win.
Yeah, I was going to say, in terms of like the new mindset that you have, this kind of whole fun, getting back to the old ways, I suppose, the old mindset, and enjoying it more. This must be the perfect matchup then in terms of that.
Yeah, it is. Like he's not a specialist. Like he's pretty good everywhere, but he's not really great anywhere. So I get to focus less on him and just more on just bringing the best me I can. Um, and I thought that I had a great mindset going into the Rakic fight, but looking back at it, I don't think I did. He's not like, and in no disrespect to him, but like Jon Jones is great in a lot of places, so you have a lot of things you got to worry about. Same with Gus, same with Glover. Like they have some things that are just that's their thing, and it's almost unstoppable. You have to avoid it. It's not about stopping it. It's about getting around it. Devin Clark's not really like that. I can just go and just be the best me I can be and just let the chips fall where they fall. I think we can fight anywhere. I can compete with him anywhere. I can wrestle with him. And that's the one thing I wasn't expecting Rakic to wrestle with me. I wasn't expecting him to want to just kind of sit in my guard and refuse to pass and refuse to posture and punch and give me any space. But to his and everyone's credit, I think the book kind of got wrote on me a little bit. Like, don't stand on the outside with him. Don't fight with him in the clinch. If you're going to play the jiu-jitsu game, you're probably going to get caught. So like the best path to victory is exactly what Aleksandar Rakic did. If I was fighting me, that's exactly what I would tell someone to do. Get a takedown and don't engage in the wrestling and don't give him any, or don't engage in the jiu-jitsu and don't give him any space. So it's been fun to like not have to worry so much about Devin and just fix my own mistakes and have to, if people have wrote the book, then I have to write a new chapter. I have to change. I have to evolve. I have to change the way that I do things and fix those places so that when someone else tries to exploit that hole, I have an answer for it. So then now they have to go back to the drawing board and they got to figure it out again. It's like cat and mouse. It's just a game.
And Devin is from the same camp, obviously, as Jon Jones. What are you thinking about that? Obviously, that he's going to get a little bit of help there.
No, I'm not too worried about that. They're two totally different fighters. Devin can't and never will be able to do the things that Jon Jones does, so he couldn't even. I mean, I'm sure that Jon is thinking he's got all these answers and these things he's going to tell Devin, but it doesn't matter because Devin's not Jon Jones. And I don't think Jon Jones really got a lot out of me in that fight. Like he shut me down, but he didn't really get a whole lot of data on me in those 25 minutes, If I'm really being honest, I feel like if anyone got data out of anyone else, it was me getting it from Jon. The problem with Jon Jones is he's a different guy every time he shows up. So, there's that problem. But I'm not too worried about it. Like John doesn't come off to me like some genius coach that's gonna give him some secret sauce either. So, uh, but I'm sure that John's helping him, and John has been known to be a good teammate in a lot of those kind of situations.
What did you think then, obviously, when you heard the news that John Jones had vacated the light heavyweight title? What was your reaction to that?
I was surprised. Uh, he's John is the type of guy, he wants it all for himself, which is why he's such a fierce competitor. He wants the whole world, and he's not willing to give it up. You're gonna have to take it from him, and that's why he's so great. And so I was surprised that he didn't go up to heavyweight and keep his 205 title. And like, I figured they'd have to strip him if he was never gonna just give it up. But I think that speaks a lot to where John is at mentally. I think he's really taking this heavyweight run seriously, and I think he's chasing money. He's chasing money, and I can't hate him for that. I can't hate on him for that at all. He wants the bigger money fights, and the big money fights are at heavyweight. So I think he made a decision based solely on finances and his own legacy. And but him actually giving it up without it being stripped was a big surprise to me. I think he does phenomenal. I don't see a whole lot of guys at heavyweight that are going to give John. John is a heavyweight. He just sucks himself down to 205 pounds. He walks around. He's got to be 230, 240. Like he's Stipe's size already. So, and in feeling him when we were in there, he was north of 220 when we fought. So I mean, if we only added another 10 pounds to him, he's the same guy. I just don't see a lot of he's just built perfectly for fighting. He's 6'5" or 6'6" with a huge reach advantage, and the way that he manages distance with his kicks and stuff, like the shorter, stockier guys aren't going to give him too many problems. His clinch work and his grappling is so dangerous. Even I can't really like Stipe will give him problems. I think a guy like Volkov will give him problems. And I know that was probably kind of surprising. A lot of people don't see that, but like that's the one guy that like I don't think anyone's thinking about that will give John Jones problems. And not to be disrespectful to the rest of the division, but Francis maybe, but if I'm being honest, I think Francis Ngannou is, as long as John doesn't get caught, I think Francis Ngannou is one of the easier fights in the division for John because of his style. Like that's a tough fight for Stipe because of his size and his body type, his reach, and his the way that Stipe wrestles and the way that he grapples. That's a tough, Francis is a tough fight for Stipe. I think John Jones clinches Francis, trips him, and mauls him. Again, you can't ever count out Francis. That dude's got grenades in his hands. So, I don't know. I think he beats most of them, and there's less than a handful of guys that even present credible problems, like actual threats.
So now, obviously, the light heavyweight division has changed the landscape there. Obviously, we have a new champion, Jan Blachowicz. What did you think about him capturing the light heavyweight title?
I wasn't surprised at all. I'm probably like Jan's biggest fan. Like I've been telling people about him being the dark horse of the division for a very long time. He's the guy that I've always kept my eye on. Like I got to keep watching that guy because he's getting better. He's huge. He's crazy powerful. His grappling is underrated. His takedown defense is phenomenal. We've seen that in the Luke Rockhold fight. Luke Rockhold's wrestling and grappling is kind of legendary amongst fighters. As much as we can say bad about who he is as a person, it's not weird to hear people telling horror stories about being stuck under Luke Rockhold in a grappling match. So the way that Jan was able to defend his takedowns and really just keep him off of him was really impressive to me. But I said it that I thought Reyes had the best performance he was ever going to have in his whole life versus John Jones. I think he just caught lightning in a bottle. And I'm not sure that Dominic Reyes is the type of guy that can really sit back and look himself in the mirror and fix problems because he never accepted the fact that he lost to John Jones. Even in fights that I've had where I feel like I got screwed or whatever, like you still have to go back and look at those and try to fix those problems. And I feel like Reyes walked around like he was the uncrowned champion and just was going to keep on doing what he was doing and winning. And it's not how this game works. You know, you got to get better. You got to fix those problems. You know, so I was happy for Jan too, especially at his age. Um, I like what he stands for. I like who he is as a person. He's not about the bullshit or the trash talk or creating stuff that isn't there. He's crazy respectful and just aesthetically watching his game. I just like watching that guy fight. You know, there's not usually like some, you know, the knockouts are always super exciting, but he does a lot of subtle things that I think people don't pick up on from the outside that I think is really fun to watch. So I'm just happy for him. I think that he's one of those guys that just deserves to be able to sail off in the sunset someday and be able to say that he was the champion of the world. I think that's cool.
Yeah, definitely. And does that give you any new motivation having a new champion at the top of the division?
Yeah, I think it creates a lot of parity. You know, the difference between our champion now and our former champion is that there's more paths to victory there. You know, let's just be honest here. It's hard to look at Jon Jones and see a bunch of openings for for like holes that you can exploit or weaknesses in his game, or it's just tough. But you know, as big of a fan as I am of the champion now, he's beatable. I can beat that guy for sure. And it's much easier than against Jon Jones, you know. So, and anybody in my division that tells you that that's not how everyone's looking at him is a goddamn liar. So I think it's fun because, you know, they're saying at 205 that like people believe that belt's going to be changing hands quite often. Now with Izzy coming in, you know, I don't know what that looks like. You know, I like Izzy a lot, but you know, at the end of the day, this is kind of our division, so it gives you this feeling like you have to protect it. You know, like he's going to come in and just fight the champion, and then just going to roll through all of us. You know, like and again, no disrespect to Izzy, I think he would expect us all to feel like that, but like, you know, you gotta kind of protect your own right now. So of course you hope that Jan is able to beat him and kind of kind of protect our honor a little bit.
What do you think that does for the division then? Is that something, you know, how do you feel about it? Obviously you made your way from middleweight up to light heavyweight.
And got hated on hard. You know, I was the blown up middleweight that was coming in and everyone was going to smash me. So now you see another middleweight come in and like, now I'm like, all right, here comes this middleweight. Like we got to smash this guy. So I understood, like I understood it from the very beginning why people were mad at me at the beginning. But now everyone's accepted me as the middleweight and I'm not the blown up middleweight anymore. Or accepted me as a light heavyweight and I'm not the you know, the chubby middleweight coming up. But I think it could be really good for our division, even if Izzy loses. Like, as long as Jan is competitive and it's a good fight, and you know he shows that he is the champion of the world for a reason. Obviously, if he beats him, that's huge for our entire division. It shows how strong we are and how good our champion is, and we've kind of all played this round robin thing where some of us have beat this guy and he beat that guy, but I beat him, and like, so we're like, if Jan beats Izzy, we're all fairly comparable up there at the, you know, like in the top 10. Like any kind of one of those guys could beat any other guys. So that would be phenomenal. But even if Jan loses, but it's a close fight and he's competitive and he has a good showing, I still think it still really highlights our division.
So how do you see that fight going down? What would be your prediction if you had to, if you were an analyst for this one? How do you see it going down?
I think stylistically it definitely favors Izzy. Jan he's not crazy mobile. He does have a habit of standing in front of people. He doesn't have really dynamic head movement or footwork. You know, he just kind of plods forward and he has this amazing ability to like slow the fight down to his pace. He did it to Thiago Santos at the very beginning, and then Thiago was able to turn it back up, and that's where Jan got caught. But he did it to Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes fights very fast. He has a lot of movement, and Jan was able to drag him kind of into his kind of slow, methodical type of fight. If he can do that to Izzy, I think he has an opportunity to be super successful, but I just don't see Israel doing that. He's too dynamic of a striker. Um, but Jan is really big. Um, I've been next to both of them, and it's very clear that those guys are separated. It seems by more than two weight classes. They're, like Jan is a big dude. He's so big. Um, so I don't know what that looks like. Izzy's hard to get a hold of, so maybe that size isn't really an issue. Um, well, I don't know if Izzy's power will translate to light heavyweight, but he's not really known as that power striker. He's kind of like Connor. He's crazy accurate, and his timing is really superior to anybody else that he fights. So I think like punching power comparably to the rest of the division, I bet Israel's not even in the top 10 as far as the actual strength of the strike. It's on the button every time, and it's in the perfect spot every single time. So I don't know. I mean, I would favor Israel just because he's been so dominant up to this point, over guys that have semi-similar styles to Jan. I think the only real thing that changes anything is his size. But he's crazy hard to get. I mean, there's how long we've been saying, well, if he gets taken down, we'll see what it looks like. Like, it hasn't happened yet. So I mean, he's done a phenomenal job of kind of guarding that part of his game.
So say Izzy is successful. Do you see John Jones coming back to get his title back from Izzy?
Man, those guys are playing so many head games with each other. It's hard to keep track of, and you know, I'm almost over trying to predict what John Jones is going to do because I don't even think John Jones knows what he's going to do. I do see if Izzy wins, he's absolutely going to raise that belt in the air and tell John Jones to come get it. But then that kind of puts John Jones in a position where he's chasing Izzy, and I don't think John's ego will allow him to do that. So I don't know. I don't know if John Jones will come down. What I could see is John Jones winning a heavyweight fight or possibly even beating Stipe, and then Izzy going all the way up to heavyweight because I think he's that crazy. I think he's nuts. I really do. I think that's more likely than John Jones coming back down. And I mean, John's changing his whole body completely. John may not be able to come back down to 205, at least not anytime soon.
Yeah, and obviously there was a lot of talk. He was unhappy about the pound for pound conversation. Obviously, Khabib retired 29-0. He was unhappy that Khabib got the top spot. What did you think about that? And in your opinion, who do you think deserves the top spot for the pound for pound rankings?
I think John was arguing two completely different points. I talked about this a lot on my show. Like, his argument that he was making was for the greatest of all time, for the GOAT, But we were talking about the pound for pound. Like, pound for pound is more of a recency bias type of ranking. Like, who's doing it best right now? Right now, Khabib is absolutely doing it best. He's finishing guys. He's making people look like they don't even deserve to be in there with him. And he's just doing it at a higher level. John Jones has had some close fights. He's been going to decisions for a while. It's been a while since he's finished anybody. That people think Thiago Santos beat him. People thought Dominic Reyes beat him. I think right now if you take their last 3 to 4 fights, Khabib is absolutely the pound for pound number one fighter in the world. Now, if we're talking greatest of all time, it's a pretty easy argument. It's John Jones, like, I don't think there's much of an argument there if you look at, that's where John was confusing me. Like, he's talking about his 15 titles. He's talking about all the legends that he's beaten. He's talking about all the number one contenders. He's talking about how he beat those guys, how many Hall of Famers he beat. It's like, John, we get it. Like, I don't even like you, and I'm not arguing with you. You are the GOAT, 100%. But we're not talking about that. Khabib wants the pound for pound ranking. He asked for it and he got it. And I think he was 100% deserving of that title. So it was just really like, I kind of just wanted to be like, are you stupid? Like, yes, like everything that you're saying is true. We all agree. You're just arguing for a different category. And if you ask me, the GOAT is probably the more prestigious one, in my opinion, because pound for pound is very much a like right now type of thing. I think the pound for pound ranking can move around a bunch. Like you get, if John rattles off 3 wins super quick at heavyweight, then he probably takes that. And if they're dominant and he's finishing guys, like he has it back. I just didn't understand why he was so upset, I guess.
And were you expecting Khabib to retire? What was your reaction, obviously, when you heard he was taking his gloves off after his win against Gaethje?
Um, when his father died, like you seen how close they were, and how he said he didn't want to compete without his dad there. I remember there was once where his dad wasn't able to get a visa, and they didn't think Khabib was going to fight. So actually, I was I don't want to say I was shocked that he came back after his dad passed away. But it was kind of like in my head I do remember thinking like I wouldn't be shocked if he didn't fight again. And then he did fight, looked really really good. Um, I just it wasn't super surprising, especially once he gave his reasoning. That his mom didn't want him going out there without his dad, and he gave his word. And as soon as I seen him taking his tape off, I kind of knew where that was headed for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And going back to your fight, obviously you've got, a brand new mindset, having more fun in there now. How do you see this fight unfolding on November 28th against Devin Clark?
I think I get back to my old ways. I kind of get back to the old me. There's no secret. Devin needs a takedown to survive. Like he needs to take me down to win this fight. There's just there's no way around that. He could have 10 more years of striking, and he's never gonna catch up. And he knows that, and I think we're both okay with that. So I think I'm gonna stuff his takedowns. I think he's gonna get tired. He's gonna absolutely get one at some point in time. That's gonna happen. And I'm gonna get back up, and I'm gonna get back to throwing bombs at his head. And I think I get a finish. I don't think it's early. I think I got to fight smart and not go chasing something and just to make myself feel better because I've coming off of 2 losses. I need to fight smart, but I think it'd be a second or third round finish after I prove to the world that I'm not done yet.
All right, well, we look forward to seeing it. Thank you so much for taking time out to talk to me today.
Thanks for having me.